Alright, so we're back from the moon. This time we're going to Minmus. It's a little bit farther out than moon, so we're going to have to add a little bit more fuel to our mix. This isn't actually going to change our thrust to weight ratio by too much. It's probably a bad design, and I probably shouldn't have done this at all, in fact, but it'll get the job done. We'll make it to Minmus. We'll be able to make it back again. It's enough fuel for the job. I just think we could have done it equally well with just 2 outer rockets instead of 4 outer rockets. Anyway, liftoff. Okay, let's, yeah, you've seen this before. Let's just skip right ahead to orbit. Alright, here we are in orbit. First thing we're going to do, set Minmus as a target, and that gives us a few extra indicators to help us set our maneuver nodes. You see the 2 green dots there? That is the closest and the farthest to the orbit that we're going to be, but those aren't the items we're interested in. I'm just gonna try to set a maneuver node to get us out there, and the thing I'm looking for is that. See that little white arrow? There's one there. Closest approach arrow. And then you see the other white arrow on the far right hand side right here. There we go, another closest approach arrow. That means I had it exactly wrong. I had my maneuver node set up on the wrong side. Alright, see that? See when I move it out this way to the right, see those 2 white arrows are right next to each other? That means that I'm very close. So if you can get those 2 arrows to touch each other, you technically have an encounter. So that is the target there. So you saw the maneuver node lines were jittering around quite a bit. That's because with even a tiny little change in your thrust, it will because of the low gravity of Minmus, it will affect the orbit and it will change the results. So it's really hard to get a clear reading. See, as we get close again, yep, there goes glitching out again. There's not much you can do about the glitching, except, you know, just head out there and make more corrections as you get closer. So if you're seeing the glitching like that, it means that you're within a few meters a second of delta V of actually hitting the target in the way you want to. So I'm just going to fast forward ahead here. And here we are approaching Minmus. We don't technically have a proper orbit, and you can see it's still glitching, but oh, there we go. See, once we enter its realm of influence, we're able to set a maneuver node. Now, I've done a common mistake here. I've actually set the maneuver node on the orange line instead of the blue line. If you grab the inner ring of the maneuver node, you can move it around. But I'm just going to set the, whoa, more glitching. There we go. Just trying to get the periapsis down nice and low. There we go. 32 kilometers. That looks pretty good. I mean, that's a highly elliptical orbit, but 32 kilometers, that's far enough out. That's a safe orbit. We can even bring it in a little bit more. I'm going to move the maneuver node up so we don't have to wait as long. Yeah, 35 kilometers. Yeah, let's drop the... Oh, no, see, it disappeared, so that means we're colliding. Yeah, we're hitting it now. We're going to smack right into the side of it. So let's extend that back out. 4 kilometers. Yeah, no, that's a bit too low. There's some mountains on here that might be 4 kilometers tall, so we want to be up a bit higher. So 35 kilometers. And heck, let's set a few more maneuver nodes. Let's try to get our landing lined up right in here. So I'm just going to bring this down until the purple dots are actually colliding with the surface. Yeah, here we go. Blip, there we go. That looks like a collision. So I'm probably not really going to use these maneuver nodes. You can see I'm getting in position, not even switching to the vehicle view. I'm just using the nav ball to get into position and get ready for the burn. I'm probably not going to use the second maneuver node as is. I'm just setting it up as a marker to see how close I am to hitting this burn dead on. It's only an 8-second burn, and Minmus's gravity is so low that a small mistake is actually going to have a dramatic difference. If your burn time is a little bit off, or a lot off apparently, then look at that. See how my maneuver node changed? It kind of warped out to the right. That's because it's trying to correct for the mistake I just made. So I'm going to have to grab that maneuver node. Actually, I'm a little bit low, so I'm just going to extend that out a bit with a manual burn. Yeah, there we go. Back up to 30 kilometers. All right, so I'm just going to move that maneuver node back again so it's back in the position I wanted it. Whoops, I just deleted it. Okay, try this again. Just slow down, slow down, slow down. Double click on Minmus just to give it some focus here. All right, let's slow this down. Yeah, now see that really rocky surface? Those are some tall mountains there, so I'm just going to reposition this a bit. And those flat places, those look like a nice place to land, so I'm just going to line this up. Yeah. I'm just going to line this up with a nice descent into one of these little craters here. It's kind of like a sea level. Those flat areas on Minmus are actually 0 altitude, so it's really handy. It's really nice to use, so I'm just going to line this up. Yeah, that looks about right. We're going right over that middle patch there, and I'm going to place a maneuver node here and slow down again. So there we go. So we have 2 maneuver nodes lined up. That'll put us on a nice trajectory in, and we're going to land right in that spot. Yeah, that looks about right. Look at that. Perfect trajectory. Because Minmus is so small, the mountains are dramatically taller in comparison. But, oh geez. Okay, so I'm just looking at this. I'm seeing my burn is in 2 days. 2 days. It took a day to get out here, and now it's going to take 2 days to slow down to get into the proper orbit. That's because Minmus's gravity is so small, it's going to take forever to drift there. But it's also going to rotate while we're approaching it. So now my burn nodes aren't even going to be lined up with the crater anymore. I'm going to have to redo them. But okay, so this first burn is still going to make sense here. It's just 2 days later. Our Kerbal is probably getting pretty hungry in there. So here we go, coming up to our 2-second burn just to get us into an orbit. You know there's a low gravity when you only need a 2-second burn to get into a suborbital trajectory. There we go. All right, so let's check out the map and let's fix this. Yeah, see, it's rotated well past where we wanted to be. So let's just redo this. Okay, so grab the maneuver node. Just take stock here. You know, let's just make this short. Let's land right where we are, or right where we're coming up to. No, I think we're gonna have to move that node back a bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's just angle that up a bit so we can land right there in that nice spot. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So, because there's no atmosphere and really low gravity, a really steep descent isn't all that bad. Like, it's not scary here. And in fact, I have enough fuel. I think I'm gonna attempt this with my thruster attached. Yeah. So I have another stage here. I can detach the longer secondary stage and just land with the lander like I did on Moon. But the gravity is so low that it's kind of fun to kind of challenge yourself to balance on something like this. So, yep, there we go. Okay. So let's just check the map. Yep, still on course. Looks like we're going to impact right where we expected to. All right, so let's just time accelerate a little bit. We're coming on down. So you see the retrograde node on the nav ball, the little green circle with the X in the middle? It's drifting upwards. That's because our trajectory is getting steeper and steeper, right? We're arcing closer and closer to a vertical fall. So that's a good sign. That means well, it's a good sign for our purposes now. It means you're falling. If you were to point directly at the retrograde node like this, that would slow you down directly opposite your direction. So that's what I'm doing right now. But you know what? I'm going to game the system a little bit. Check this out. I'm going to aim down a little bit. So if you think about the opposite of the retrograde marker is kind of your velocity vector. It's where you're headed. I just switch this over to surface relative nav ball. So if you accelerate in any direction, the forward vector node will move towards the yellow dot on the nav ball. But as you see here, the X, the retrograde node, is moving away from the nav ball, or away from the yellow dot on the nav ball. So with that in mind, you can kind of imagine your yellow dot as kind of a magnet that's repelling the retrograde node. So if you want to push the retrograde node up to the vertical axis, you just kind of line it up so that you're pushing it away with your velocity. Right, so I've got a perfect, almost perfect vertical descent here. I'm just coming down nice and neat. Yeah, this is looking good. No lateral motion. I'm just taking a look for the shadow right now. We are going 100 meters per second, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. But we're not in danger. See how quickly we killed that off? Oh, there's our shadow, so we have a nice reference point. I've got a little bit of lateral motion now, so I'm going to try to correct that, I think. We want to balance on the tip of our, our engine. We're not going to have feet down there, so we want this to be as straight up and down as we possibly can. You also notice up next to the altitude meter, there's a little circular gauge. That is your vertical velocity relative to the ground. And you can see we're at about -10 right now, -9, -5. Yeah, so that's a good gauge to watch, because the number right above the nav ball there, the one that says, 8 meters per second right now, that number is actually, it accounts for lateral motion as well as vertical motion. So the one at the top, the little dial at the top, just gives you the vertical motion. So you can sort of cross-reference the two and figure out, just, do a subtraction and figure out exactly what your lateral velocity is. And whoops. See, this huge engine we have on the bottom here, and the tiny gravity of Minmus means if you burn a little bit too long, then you end up flying upwards again. So, whoops. But, yeah, that's about it. Okay, we're coming in now. Make this a nice, soft landing. I'm going to try to touch down with less than 1 meter a second of velocity, because we don't want this thing to tip over. If it does, we could probably recover, but it's not going to be pretty. Come on. There we go, 0.5, 0.7. There we go. Under 1 meter a second, and safe. Look at that. Nice and stable. Well, wobbling quite a bit, but stable enough. Stable enough to get out and walk around. So in the last episode, I showed you a little bit of some EVA stuff and how to use your jetpack, but check this out. I want to go up to that ridge. So I'm just going to kick in, holding down the shift key, holding down the W key just to launch myself up. I'm going to switch to map view just so I can see my trajectory. So you can do this not only with ships, but also with your Kerbal, so you can see what your trajectory is. I'm still holding the shift key, I'm still holding the W key, just so I can get some velocity. You see the arch? There it is. You can see my trajectory arch. So I'm just pressing W to extend it out a bit. And I'm going to press shift again to raise it up. There we go. Just so that I land right there, right on the edge of the ridge. So I have a nice view of our ship that's drifting off behind us now. So the very low gravity, again, of Minmus allows us to, you could probably circumnavigate the whole planet with just your little EVA pack. You notice on the top right, I have my resources window open so I can see how much jetpack fuel I have. You only have 5 units of fuel, but this huge jump that I took here took 4 units of fuel, so not too much. Alright, we're approaching the ridge here, so I just want to kill my lateral motion again. So you don't have a nav ball with your Kerbal, so I'm just making the camera look straight down, and then I'm looking at how the terrain is moving relative to my Kerbal to just kind of slow my lateral motion down a bit. And now I'm just coming down for a nice, safe, soft touchdown. So Kerbals can die if they hit the ground too hard, so you want to, be nice and gentle. Be nice. Be nice. And there we go. Perfect. Look at that. Well, we're a bit too far back, right where we wanted to be, but we're a bit too far back to see. So let's just head back to the lander here, and let's try to get that back there really fast. I'm just going to skim the surface, go as fast as I can, and just accelerate the whole way there. Well, accelerate half the way there, and then I'll turn around and then stop myself for the second half of the trip. So let's see how fast we can get going here. I'm watching my vertical gauge, my vertical velocity speed up there, but as the ground's sloping away from me, it doesn't matter. So let's accelerate time a little bit. Alright, so we're coming in. Look at that. Okay, so I'm just trying to slow myself down a little bit Kill my lateral motion. I'm going to try to land this little Kerbal right on the ladder. I think that'll be fun. You know, not touch the ground. I'm just going to come right down on top of the spaceship and just climb back in, and then we can head home. We haven't even detached our second stage yet, so we have plenty of fuel to get all the way back home again. We could probably make a stop at the moon too if we wanted. Alright, so let's line this up perfectly. Here we go. Yep, that's looking good, looking good. Okay, so let's arrest our vertical descent and... Wait, why are my thrusters not working? Oh no! Oh no! I wasn't watching the fuel in the top right. I'm out of jetpack fuel. No! Ugh. Okay, no trip to the moon. No trip home.